In the winter of 1959, 9 young hikers set out on what should have been a challenging but routine expedition into the remote mountains of the Soviet Union. They were experienced, disciplined, and determined to complete their journey across one of the harshest landscapes in the region. Their destination was a remote mountain deep within the Ural Range. None of them knew that this trip would become one of the most chilling mysteries in modern history. The expedition was led by Igor Dyatlov, a 23-year-old engineering student and an experienced outdoor adventurer. He and his team were students from the Ural Polytechnic Institute, and many of them had already completed difficult winter expeditions before. They were trained to survive in extreme conditions and had the equipment needed to face the brutal cold of the mountains. Temperatures during the journey dropped far below freezing, and strong winds swept across the snowy slopes. Despite the dangers, the hikers were confident they could complete the trek. Before leaving, Dyatlov promised that once the expedition was over, he would send a telegram back home to let everyone know they had returned safely. But the message never came. Days passed, and then weeks. Friends and relatives began to worry as there was still no word from the group. Eventually, authorities organized search teams to head into the mountains to find the missing hikers. What those search teams discovered only deepened the mystery. When rescuers reached the area where the hikers had camped, they found their tent partially buried in the snow. At first glance, it seemed like a normal campsite, but something was terribly wrong. The tent had been cut open from the inside. It appeared that the hikers had slashed their way out in a hurry, as if they were trying to escape from something quickly. Inside the tent, most of their belongings were still there. Their boots were still inside. Their warm coats were still inside. It looked as though the hikers had suddenly fled into the freezing darkness, with almost nothing to protect them from the cold. Outside the tent, investigators found footprints in the snow, leading away from the campsite toward a nearby forest. The footprints revealed something even stranger. Some of them appeared to have been made by people who were barefoot or wearing only socks. In the freezing temperatures of the mountain, that would have been incredibly dangerous. About a mile away from the campsite, under a large cedar tree in the forest, rescuers found the first 2 bodies. The hikers had attempted to build a small fire in an effort to survive the cold. Branches high up in the tree were broken, suggesting that one of them may have climbed it, possibly trying to see the campsite in the distance. But the fire was not enough to save them. Both had died from hypothermia. Nearby, rescuers found 3 more bodies scattered between the tree and the tent. It appeared that these hikers had tried to make their way back toward the campsite, but collapsed before they could reach it. Months later, when the snow began to melt, search teams discovered the remaining 4 hikers in a ravine deeper within the forest. What investigators saw shocked them. Some of the victims had severe internal injuries. One had a fractured skull, and another had multiple broken ribs. Medical experts later stated that the force required to cause such injuries was similar to the impact of a serious car crash. Yet strangely, the bodies showed very few external wounds. One of the victims was also missing their tongue, adding another disturbing detail to the case. Even more mysterious, tests later revealed traces of radiation on some of the clothing worn by the hikers. Over the decades, countless theories have tried to explain what happened that night in the mountains. Some researchers believe a sudden avalanche may have forced the hikers to cut open their tent and run for safety. Others suspect that secret military experiments may have been taking place nearby. There are also theories involving rare natural phenomena, such as powerful wind patterns that can create terrifying sound vibrations, capable of causing panic. Despite all the investigations, no theory has been able to explain every detail of the case. For many years, Soviet authorities closed the investigation with a vague statement that the hikers had died because of what they described as a powerful natural force. However, they never clearly defined what that force was. The mountain pass where the tragedy occurred was eventually named Dyatlov Pass in honor of the expedition's leader. Today, more than 60 years later, the mystery still fascinates historians, investigators, and curious minds around the world. 9 skilled hikers entered those frozen mountains with confidence and determination. None of them returned, and somewhere in the silent wilderness, the truth about what happened that night may still remain hidden beneath the snow.